Snow fell like knives from the black sky. The wind screamed across the ruined land, carrying with it the memory of battles long forgotten. In the middle of this frozen wasteland walked an alien woman, alone, weak, and broken. Her blue skin shivered, under torn clothes her dark hair tangled with ice. She had no fire, no food, and no one waiting for her. She was an outcast, banished, left to die. Her people had pushed her away, calling her cursed, unwanted, a widow of no value. And now, the endless white storm was her prison. Each step cut into her body, each breath burned like fire in her chest. Her legs trembled. She knew soon she would fall, and the snow would bury her forever. But then, she heard laughter. At first, she thought it was only the wind playing tricks. But the sound grew clearer, two voices, light and innocent. Children. She turned her head, and through the storm she saw them. Two small human girls, no more than 6 or 7 years old. Their faces were red from the cold, their cloaks patched and simple, but their eyes, bright and fearless, shone against the storm. The alien woman froze. Humans? Here? She could not understand why children would be wandering alone in such danger. She wanted to turn away, to hide her shame and weakness, but her body failed her. She fell to her knees in the snow. The twins walked closer. One of them tilted her head, curious. The other held a small basket of wood and scraps, maybe gathered for fire. They were not afraid. Instead, they looked at the alien with something no one had ever given her before: kindness. "You look so cold," the first girl said softly. The alien tried to answer, but her voice cracked. Her throat was dry like stone. The second girl stepped forward, her small boots crunching in the snow. She spoke words that cut deeper than the storm itself. "You need a home," she whispered, "and we need a bride for our father." The alien blinked, confused. She thought her ears had betrayed her. A home? A bride? Their father? Her chest tightened. It was nonsense. Surely she had heard wrong. But both girls stood there, eyes wide and serious, waiting for her to answer. The storm howled louder, as if the sky itself wanted to silence this strange moment. The alien's mind spun. She had been given nothing in her life but rejection. And now, two small human girls were offering her the one thing she had never known: belonging. But why? Why would they want her? She was an outcast, broken and lost. Her body swayed. The cold was winning. She tried to push herself up, but her arms gave out. Darkness crawled at the edge of her vision. "No," cried one twin. She rushed forward, her small hands pulling at the alien's arm. The other dropped her basket and pushed at the alien's shoulder. Together they tried to lift her, their voices desperate. "Don't die," one said. "You can't stay out here," the other cried. The alien gasped, her strength fading, but she felt their little hands gripping her tightly, refusing to let go. She had never been fought for before. Never. Her last sight before the darkness claimed her was the two human children struggling against the storm, dragging her toward the shadows of a wooden cabin hidden beyond the snow. The wind screamed. The snow swallowed her footsteps. But inside the hearts of those children, a fire had already begun. And with that, the alien widow, unwanted by her own people, was carried into the unknown, into a story that would change her life forever. "Thou..." Alien widow opened her eyes slowly. At first she thought she was dead. Warmth touched her skin, soft and strange, unlike the biting cold of the storm. The air smelled of wood smoke and dry earth. She blinked, her vision blurry, and saw a low, wooden roof above her. She was lying on a rough bed of furs and blankets. A fire burned in a stone fireplace nearby, its light dancing across the small cabin walls. For a long moment, she did not move, afraid it was a dream. Then she heard whispers. "Is she awake?" one small voice asked. She moved. "I think she is somewhere," the other replied. The alien turned her head. There, beside the bed, sat the two human twins. Their cheeks were round, their eyes bright, and their hands busy holding cups of water. They watched her not with fear but with excitement. "She's alive," the first girl whispered with a smile. "Told you she would be," said the second, puffing out her chest proudly. The alien tried to speak, but her throat was dry. One of the girls lifted a cup to her lips and water slid into her mouth. She coughed but drank eagerly. It had been so long since she tasted something pure. The children giggled softly. Their laughter was gentle, like music she had never known. But then, the door creaked. Heavy footsteps entered the cabin, slow, strong. A shadow filled the doorway. The alien tensed. A tall man stepped inside, snow clinging to his thick coat. His beard was rough, his eyes sharp, and in his hands he carried an axe and a bundle of firewood. He froze when he saw her. For a long, heavy silence, only the crackle of the fire spoke. "What is that?" the man asked, his voice hard as stone. The alien felt her chest tighten. She wanted to rise, to defend herself, but her body was still too weak. She stared at him with tired eyes, waiting for him to cast her out like everyone else had. "She's not a that," one twin said firmly. "She's a lady." "She was freezing outside," the other added. "We saved her." The man's eyes narrowed. "An alien? In my home?" The twins nodded together. Then, as if rehearsed, they said the words again. "You need a bride, Father, and she needs a home." The alien's heart jumped. The children were serious. They meant every word. The father dropped the wood onto the floor with a heavy thud. His jaw tightened. His gaze never left the alien. "I told you not to bring strangers here. And now you bring this?" The alien tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. She groaned softly and fell back against the furs. "See?" one girl said. "She's weak. She needs help." "She can't go back out there. She'll die," the other added, her voice trembling. The man's expression did not soften. His eyes were cold like the winter outside. He looked at his daughters and then back at the alien. "I don't care what she is, she leaves at sunrise." The words stabbed deeper than the storm ever had. The twins gasped. "No!" they shouted together. "She stays!" The man's face darkened. "Enough!" His voice echoed through the cabin. Silence followed. The twins looked at each other, then at the alien, tears building in their eyes. The alien felt her chest ache, not from the cold this time, but from something else, a feeling she had not known in years. Someone was fighting for her. She wanted to speak, to thank them, but her voice broke into only a whisper. "Please. I have nowhere." The father turned sharply toward her. For the first time he truly looked at her, not just as an alien, not just as a stranger, but as someone broken, wounded, and desperate. His expression shifted only slightly, but enough for her to see the conflict in his eyes. Still, his words were final. "One night, that's all. By morning she goes." The twins clutched each other, their faces pale with fear and sadness. The alien closed her eyes, her heart sinking. She had been given warmth for the first time, and already it was slipping away. The fire burned. The storm outside howled against the walls, and inside the cabin, 3 humans and 1 alien sat in silence, strangers tied together by fate, but not yet by trust. The alien widow knew she had only a few hours to prove she was more than a burden, for if she failed, the morning light would send her back into the endless snow, forever. The night passed slowly in the little cabin. The storm outside roared and howled like a beast, but inside the fire burned steady. The alien widow lay on the bed of furs, listening to the crackle of the wood and the quiet breaths of the human twins who had curled up beside her. Their warmth pressed against her cold skin, and for the first time in many years she felt something close to peace. But that peace could not last. She opened her eyes to find the father sitting near the fire, sharpening his axe. His eyes were fixed on the blade, but she knew he was watching her, studying her every move. His shoulders were wide, his hands rough. the hands of a man who had lived too long in the harshness of this land. The alien widow sat up slowly, wincing at the pain in her body. She wanted to thank him for letting her stay, but before she could speak, his voice cut the air. "When the sun rises," he said coldly, "you leave." His words were heavy, like stones falling into a deep well. The twins stirred awake at the sound. "No, father," one of the girls whispered, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "She can't leave." "She belongs here," the other added, clutching the alien's arm. "She needs us. And we need her." The father's jaw tightened. He looked at his daughters with stern eyes. "You do not understand. She is not one of us. She is dangerous." "Dangerous?" the alien whispered, her voice weak but steady. "I am no threat." The man's eyes flashed. "Your kind killed my people. I watched them burn our homes. I buried my wife because of them. And you expect me to believe you are different?" His words stabbed into her heart. She lowered her head, shame burning through her. She could not deny it. Her people had done cruel things. She had seen it herself. But she was not like them. She had never been like them, still. How could she prove it? "Father," one twin said, standing tall even though her little body trembled. "If she goes, she will die. You know it. The storm will kill her. And if she stays, she can be our mother," the other added quickly. The aliens' eyes widened. Their innocence was painful, like sunlight against old scars. She did not deserve their trust, their hope. And yet, they gave it freely. The man slammed his axe into the wooden floor. The twins jumped at the sound. "Enough," he roared. "She is not your mother. She is not my wife. She is nothing to us." Silence fell heavy in the cabin. The only sound was the storm's lonely cry outside. The alien widow closed her eyes. She had known rejection all her life, but this cut deeper because, for a short while, she had believed in the warmth of these children's hearts. She thought, just maybe, she had found a place where she could belong. But she was wrong. She began to rise from the bed, her legs shaking, her body weak. "If you wish me gone, I will go," she whispered. The twins rushed to her side, clinging to her arms. "No, you can't leave. Please, father, don't send her away." The man stood, towering over them, his face hard. His hand clenched the handle of his axe. But when he looked at his daughters, tears in their eyes, he faltered. He wanted to protect them, to keep them safe. But how could he protect them if he let this stranger stay? The alien's chest ached. She could feel the weight of his judgment pressing on her like the storm pressing against the walls. She wanted to scream, to beg, but her pride held her back. She would not crawl for mercy. Not again. Then suddenly, a sound broke the tense silence. Boom. The door rattled. The father turned sharply, axe raised. Again. Boom. The door shook against its hinges. The twins clung tighter to the alien, fear in their small eyes. Someone, or something, was outside. The father growled low in his throat. "Stay here." He moved toward the door. The alien's heart raced. She felt danger in her bones, sharper than the cold. Whoever was outside was no friend. The twins whispered together, trembling. "Father, what if it's them?" The alien did not ask who them was. She already knew. Enemies. Raiders. Or worse, her own people. The father reached the door, his axe ready. For one last moment, he looked back at the alien widow. His eyes were full of fire, suspicion, and something more, something she could not name. "When the sun rises, you leave," he said again. But his voice was softer this time, uncertain. Then the door exploded inward, and the cabin filled with shadows. The cabin door burst open with a crash of wood and iron. Cold wind and snow blasted inside, carrying with it dark shapes that moved fast and hungry. The firelight flickered wildly, throwing shadows across the walls. The father raised his axe with a roar, but even he looked shaken. 3 men stumbled in, Ragged raiders, their faces hidden under furs and masks. Their eyes glowed with greed, and their hands carried knives, hooks, and rusted blades. Well, well, one of them growled. A cabin with fire. And children, too. His laugh was sharp, cruel. The twins screamed and clung to the alien widow. She felt their small hands shaking against her skin, their hearts beating like drums. Fear clawed at her, but deep inside, something stronger rose. She could not let them be taken. Not again. She had lost too much already. The father swung his axe, forcing one raider back. Wood splinters flew. Another raider rushed forward, and the alien saw his knife glint near the children. Without thinking, she moved. Her body still ached, but survival burned hotter than pain. She grabbed the man's wrist with sudden strength. His eyes widened in shock as her alien grip crushed down like iron. With one twist, the knife clattered to the floor. She shoved him hard, sending him stumbling into the wall. The father froze for a second, surprised by her power, but there was no time for questions. The third raider charged straight at him. Their weapons clashed, axe against blade, sparks flying. In the dark cabin, the alien widow pushed the twins behind her. "Stay down," she commanded, her voice low and sharp. The raider she had thrown off staggered back to his feet, anger burning in his eyes. He lunged again, but this time she was ready. She ducked low, grabbed his arm, and slammed her elbow into his chest. He fell with a grunt, air bursting from his lungs. The twins watched with wide eyes, their fear slowly mixing with awe. Meanwhile, the father fought hard, but struggled against the strength of the last raider. His axe was locked against the raider's hook blade, both men pushing, their faces inches apart. The raider sneered, forcing him back. Without hesitation, the alien widow darted forward. She grabbed a burning log from the fireplace and struck it across the raider's back. Flames licked his fur cloak and he screamed, rolling on the floor to smother the fire. The father finished the job. His axe came down, and the fight was over. For a moment, silence filled the cabin. Only the storm outside cried. The alien widow stood trembling, the burning log still in her hand. The children pressed close against her legs, their small eyes shining with relief. The father looked at her, his chest heaving, sweat on his brow. "You fought," he said finally, his voice low. "You protected them." The alien met his gaze, her breath ragged. "I would die before I let them be harmed." Something changed in his eyes then. For the first time, they softened. Not with trust, not yet, but with something close to respect. But before peace could settle, a groan filled the cabin. The first raider, the one she had thrown into the wall, was still alive. He crawled toward the open door, his hand reaching into the snow outside. The alien widow's blood ran cold. She knew what he was doing. He was calling for others. The father saw it too. He stormed forward and kicked the raider back inside, slamming the door shut. Again. "There may be more," he growled. His eyes flicked toward the alien. "If they come, it will not be easy." The alien nodded slowly. "Then I will fight again." The twins rushed to her side, holding her hands tightly. "You're not leaving us now, are you?" one whispered. "You saved us," the other added. The alien looked down at them, her chest heavy with emotion. She had been thrown away by her people, called useless, weak, cursed. Yet here, in this fragile cabin, two little humans clung to her as if she were their only hope. She swallowed hard. "I will not leave you." The father watched the scene, silent. His hand still gripped the axe, but his shoulders were less tense. His daughters had spoken true. This alien, unwanted by her own kind, had risked her life for them. The storm outside raged louder, and in the distance, a horn echoed, long and low. More raiders. The father's jaw set. "This is not over." He turned to the alien, his voice steady now. "You may have one more night. Prove you deserve to stay." The alien widow nodded. Her heart pounded with fear and determination. She knew this was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight for her place in this family, for a chance to belong. And as the cabin walls shook under the storm and the promise of more enemies, she whispered to herself, "I will not fail them." Morning came slowly. Pale sunlight pushed through the cracks in the wooden walls, turning the snow outside into a sea of white. The storm had passed, but silence carried danger. Somewhere out there, more raiders waited. Inside the cabin, life began to stir. The alien widow opened her eyes to the sound of small laughter. The twins were awake, whispering to each other as they braided each other's hair with little bits of string. When they noticed her watching, they smiled brightly, as if nothing in the world could scare them. "You're still here," one whispered happily. "You didn't leave us," the other added. The alien sat up slowly, her muscles sore but strong after the night's battle. She gave a small nod. "I told you, I will not leave." The cabin door creaked open, and the father entered carrying fresh wood. His eyes swept over her, then the girls. He did not speak right away. He set the wood by the fire and studied the alien with his usual hard gaze. But something was different. It was no longer only suspicion. Now there was something heavier. Thought. "You fought," he said finally, his voice quiet. "You saved my children." The alien held his gaze. "They are worth saving." His jaw tightened, but he gave no reply. Instead, he turned away, busying himself with the fire. Yet the twins saw the change. Their father was no longer pushing her out. Not yet. That day passed with tense silence. The father worked outside, chopping wood and setting traps, while the alien stayed in the cabin with the children. She wanted to help, but her body still ached. So she listened. The twins talked endlessly, telling her stories of their mother who had died long ago, of their father's long silence, of the loneliness they carried even with each other. "You're different," one said at last, her small eyes thoughtful. "Not scary different," the other added quickly. "Good different." The alien felt her throat tighten. Her own people had called her cursed, weak, useless. But here, two human children looked at her and saw good. She could not understand it, but she felt it deep in her chest. By evening, the father returned, his face stern. "The raiders are near," he said. "They will come back. Tonight, maybe tomorrow." Fear rippled through the twins, but the alien stood tall. "Then I will fight with you again." The father's eyes narrowed. "You speak of fighting, but do you know what it costs? To protect them is to risk everything." "I have nothing left to lose," she whispered. "Except them." For the first time, his gaze softened. He said no more, but his silence was not rejection. It was acceptance, though fragile. That night, the bond began to grow. The alien cooked for the first time, awkward with human food, but determined. She boiled. Water stirred thin soup and passed the bowl to the twins. They ate happily, praising her as if she were the best cook in the world. She smiled, small, uncertain, but real. The father watched from across the table, his eyes unreadable. His daughters were laughing, eating, alive. And this stranger, this alien, was the reason. Later, when the twins slept curled in their blankets, the father sat by the fire, sharpening his axe. The alien sat across from him, silent. The crackle of flames filled the space between them. At last he spoke. "You are not like the others I have seen." She lowered her head. "That is why I was cast out." His brow furrowed. "They cast you out because you were different?" She nodded slowly. "I refused to kill. I refused to obey their cruelty. They called me weak. They called me cursed. So they left me to die." The father's hand stilled on the axe. For the first time, he looked at her not as an enemy, but as someone who had suffered as he had. He too had lost family, been left with nothing but pain and silence. "Perhaps weakness," he said finally, "is not what they think it is." Their eyes met across the fire. No words followed, but something passed between them, something fragile, something new. The next morning, danger struck again. One of the traps outside had caught nothing, but the snow carried fresh tracks. Human tracks. Raiders circling. The father gripped his axe. The alien stood beside him, her jaw firm. "You are not ready," he said, his voice low. "I must be," she replied. "For them." The twins rushed out of the cabin, clutching her hands. "Don't go," they cried. "Stay safe with us." The alien knelt, brushing their hair gently. "I will fight so you can always stay safe. That is my promise." The twins hugged her tightly, their small arms wrapping around her waist. And, for the first time in her life, the alien widow felt something more powerful than fear. She felt needed. The father saw it, the way his daughters clung to her, the way she held them as if they were her own. And deep inside, though he did not say it, he knew the truth. This alien was no longer a stranger. She was becoming part of them. That night, as the fire burned low, the cabin was no longer filled with silence. It was filled with something else. Hope. The bond had begun to grow, strong as roots beneath the snow. But outside, in the darkness of the forest, the raiders gathered again, and this time, they would not come alone. The days grew colder, though the cabin fire never went out. For a short, while life felt almost normal, the alien widow worked beside the twins, helping them gather kindling, patch old blankets, and even tell stories by the fire. The father watched quietly, his sharp eyes always following, but his words grew softer with each passing night. Yet, peace is fragile, and peace never lasts. One morning, before the sun fully rose, the sound of horns echoed through the valley. Long, deep, and mournful. The alien froze where she stood, her blood running cold. She knew that sound. She had heard it before, long ago, when her people hunted the weak. Her past had found her. The father came to the doorway, his axe gripped tight. "Raiders again?" he asked. The alien shook her head slowly. "Not raiders. Worse." The twins clung to her cloak, confused. "Who is it?" they asked in trembling voices. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. "My people." The father's jaw hardened. "They are here for you." The alien nodded. Shame burned in her chest. "Yes. They will call me traitor. They will demand I return, or they will destroy this place." The twins gasped. "No, they can't take you." One girl's voice cracked with fear. "You're our mother now." Tears stung the alien's eyes. Those words, simple, innocent, were sharper than any blade. She had been denied family all her life, but here these children claimed her as their own, and now her past threatened to rip it away. By midday, figures appeared at the edge of the forest. Dark cloaks, tall frames, weapons gleaming, at least a dozen of them. They stood in silence, waiting, their presence heavy as stone. The father, the alien, and the twins stepped outside the cabin. The wind bit at their faces, but no one moved. Finally, one of the aliens stepped forward. His voice boomed across the snow. "You do not belong here." His eyes burned into the widow. "You are cast out. You are cursed. You will return with us, or these humans will pay the price." The father's grip tightened on his axe. "She is under my roof. No one takes her." The alien leader sneered. "A human protecting her? Foolish. Do you know what she is? She is nothing. We threw her away because she was weak. Because she would not fight. She is worthless." The widow trembled, shame cutting into her bones. The twins shouted back, their small voices fierce. "She's not worthless. She saved us. She's our mother." The crowd of aliens laughed cruelly, their voices echoing. The widow lowered her head, unable to meet their eyes. She could not bear to see their hatred. The leader raised his hand. "We will return at dusk. If she is not outside waiting, we will burn this cabin to the ground, and we will kill everyone inside." With that, they turned and vanished back into the trees, leaving only silence and dread. Inside the cabin, the fire snapped and hissed. The twins cried softly, clinging to the widow's hands. "You can't go," one begged. "If you go, we'll lose you," the other whispered. The widow's heart broke. If I stay, you will die. I cannot let that happen. The father stood by the fire, his face dark with thought. So, you will go to them? He asked. Her voice cracked. If it means your children live. Yes. For the first time, the father's mask of stone cracked. His eyes burned with anger. You think leaving will save us? Do you not see? They will kill us anyway. To them, humans are nothing. And to them, you are less than nothing. The widow shivered. He was right. She knew the cruelty of her people. Once they decided someone had no worth, there was no mercy. The father stepped closer, his voice low but fierce. If you walk out there, you die. And then my daughters lose you, and still they will come for us. The twins cried harder. Don't leave us, they begged. The widow looked at them, her heart torn apart. All her life she had been unwanted. But here these two children wanted her, needed her. Could she truly walk away now? Her hands trembled. Her voice shook. I do not know what to do. The father placed his hand on her shoulder. It was rough, heavy, but steady. Then fight with me. Fight for them. The alien widow looked up, meeting his eyes. For the first time, she saw no suspicion, no hatred, only resolve. He had lost his wife, but he would not lose again. She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. Yes. For them I will fight. Outside, the shadows grew long. Dusk crept over the snow. The horns would sound again soon, and with it, war would come to the cabin. But inside, for the first time, they stood not as strangers. They stood as a family, the father with his axe, the alien widow with her strength, and the twins with their hope. Together they waited for the storm to return. The cabin stood silent as the sun dipped low, painting the snow with fire-red light. Inside, the family waited. The alien widow sat near the fire, her hands shaking though. Her eyes were hard. The twins clung to her arms, refusing to let go. The father stood at the door, his axe ready, his body a wall of iron. Then as the sky darkened, the horn sounded. Boom. Boom. The ground itself seemed to tremble with each note. Shadows emerged from the forest. The widow's people had come, back, their tall figures carrying spears, swords, and cruel torches that burned against the cold. At their front stood the leader, his face twisted with arrogance. Time is over, he shouted. Send her out, or you all burn. The widow rose, slowly, her heart pounding. She looked at the twins, their small faces streaked with tears. She wanted to tell them not to cry, to tell them goodbye, but she could not. Her throat closed. She stepped toward the door. No, the twins cried, clinging tighter. You promised. Her knees nearly gave way. How could she break that promise? How could she leave them after they had given her what no one else had? The father's voice cut through her thoughts. You don't leave, he said firmly. His hand pressed the axe handle, so hard it shook. If they want you, they must come through me. The leader laughed, his voice echoing across the snow. Then you will all die together. And with a wave of his hand, the attack began. The aliens surged forward, their weapons flashing. The father roared and swung his axe, the blade splitting. Through the first enemy, blood sprayed across the snow. Another rushed him, but the alien widow leapt between, her hand snapping out to grab the enemy's throat. With a twist, he fell lifeless to the ground. The twins screamed from inside, but they did not run. They watched, wide-eyed, as their father and their new mother fought side by side. More came. The cabin walls shook with the clash of blades. Fire, torches were thrown, flames licking the wooden walls. Smoke filled the air. The widow fought like one possessed. Every strike was for the twins, every block for the father. She felt old wounds tear open, blood on her skin, but she did not stop. For the first time, she had something worth dying for. The leader finally stepped forward, his long blade gleaming. His eyes locked on her. You do not belong here, he growled. You are nothing. The widow's chest burned. His words were the same ones she had heard all her life. Nothing worthless, cursed. But then she heard the twins' voices from behind her. She's our mother. She's everything to us. Strength surged through her veins. She stood tall, taller than she ever had before, and faced her enemy. I am not nothing, she said, her voice steady as stone. I am theirs. With a cry, she charged. The leader swung his blade, but she caught it in both hands. Sparks flew as steel scraped against her alien skin. She twisted, slammed her knee into his chest, and drove him back into the snow. The father came beside her, axe raised. Together they struck. Blade and axe cut as one, and the leader fell. The remaining warriors froze. Their leader was down, blood staining the snow. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then slowly they turned and fled back into the forest, their horns silent at last. The battle was over. The cabin smoldered, its walls scorched but standing. The father leaned against his axe, blood running down his arm. The widow's body shook, her breath ragged, her skin marked with wounds. Yet when she turned, she saw the twins rushing to her, their faces full of joy. You did it, one cried. You stayed with us. The other cheered, hugging her tightly. The widow fell to her, knees clutching them close. Tears slid down her cheeks, hot and unstoppable. For the first time in her life, she was not alone. The father stepped forward. He looked at her for a long moment, his face unreadable. Then he spoke, his voice deep and steady. You are no outcast. Here. Not anymore. You are part of this family, my daughter's mother, and my wife. The widow's breath caught. His words struck deeper than any blade. She had dreamed of belonging, of being wanted, but never believed it could be true. And now, here, in this small cabin in the snow, a human man and two human children had given her everything her people never did. A home, a family, and love. She bowed her head, her voice breaking. Then I will stay. Always. The twins cheered, clapping their small hands, their laughter filling the cabin. The father placed a hand on her shoulder, firm and warm. And though the night was cold, the cabin glowed with something stronger than fire. Hope, from outcast to bride, from widow to mother. Her journey was complete. She had found her place, she had found her home.